Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys Super Bowl Sunday edition of the Ice Guys. Sunday, February the 9th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down what is the final slate of NHL hockey action before the Four Nations face-off break. 2 games, both of them early starts as usual on a Super Bowl Sunday. Everything is taking place early in the afternoon to clear the deck for the big Super Bowl matchup later today between the Eagles and Chiefs. We will have some Super Bowl picks for you, by the way, later on at the end of the show. We won't leave you hanging. I know it's a hockey show, but it is the Super Bowl. It's the biggest sporting event of the year, certainly in North America. And we will definitely have some Super Bowl wagers, side total player props later on, maybe novelty props as well for the big game later on in the show. We're going to quickly roll through the recap of a busy Saturday, the last big slate of NHL action for the in the NHL before the break. It started in the afternoon with Tampa Bay really jumping on the Detroit Red Wings early. Detroit got it to 4-3, but they would get no closer. Tampa Bay pulled away once again at the end, and they get a 6-3 victory over the Detroit Red Wings, who, predictably, I guess you could say, fell into that spot of just first game back home off a perfect road trip. It's not always a great spot, and Detroit didn't have a good start, and it cost them as Tampa Bay wins that one 6-3. How about Carolina? I guess no more offensive concerns, at least not yesterday. 7 goals pumped into the net by the Carolina Hurricanes in a 7-3 beatdown over the Utah Hockey Club yesterday. It was a great performance, really a net from Kochetkov, because he still had to face almost 40 shots, but he played very well. Vejmelka did not, but you give Carolina credit. Finally, the offense comes alive. Aho finally steps up, has a big day. He had been struggling. Seth Jarvis, a couple of goals. So a big 7-3 win there for Carolina. New Jersey shuts out Montreal. And Jake Allen, I guess, facing his old team, did the trick. He was very solid in the victory. Devils played a great team game, 4-0 win over the Montreal Canadiens, who are back in action, obviously, this afternoon against Tampa Bay. Vegas in a very entertaining game against the Boston Bruins. They win that game by a score of 4-3. There was a goal disallowed that would have given Vegas the lead on the power play. It was the right call. There was contact with Swayman, and sure enough, they got it right back just seconds later with a power play goal that actually did stand up that time around for the 4-3 go-ahead goal from Tomas Hertl with 1:10 to go. And then a crazy moment at the end of the game where it looked like an empty netter went in for the Vegas Golden Knights, which made it 5-3, which certainly concerned puck line bettors, which certainly concerned one Jason Demers in our group chat. My goodness, he's flying in there right when that goal goes in. It's like, are you kidding me? And he had apparently Boston plus 1.5, but all things end well for him as the goal was obviously put in after time had expired, and it ended up being 4-3 for the it's just funny. Jason's flying in there. What the
yeah, fuck? It is. of all the crazy things in that game too. Right?
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah, he had Boston plus 1.5, so he was scared shitless there for a second with the way that ended. But it ended 4-3. Vegas with the victory there over the Boston Bruins. Only a 1-goal victory, which means if you had Boston plus 1.5, you ended up cashing. And we cashed with Vegas Live. We cashed the first period over, so that was a pretty good game overall with Vegas and Boston. The night session, Florida 5-1 against Ottawa. Ottawa had the lead after the first, and that was pretty much it. Both Tkachuk brothers, by the way, score goals in this game. Brady got the only Ottawa goal. Matthew Tkachuk scored for Florida, so all in the family there. But Florida, what a nice way to go into the break for Florida, playing some pretty solid hockey. 5-1 Panther win. The shootout that would never end in St. Louis, a crazy game there. It was just a Chicago money line win away from perfection for me in that game. But we had Blackhawks team total over. We obviously had the over by Fecta. How easy was the first period over? Again, unreal. What is it now? 18-3 now we're talking about with the Chicago Blackhawks in this first period overrun. Just absolutely sensational stuff No question about that. Actually, I think it's 19-3. I'll have to double. It's 18 or 19-3. My brain's a little foggy here on this Sunday. It's one of the two. But nevertheless, it's a hell of a run. It hasn't lost 2 in a row, by the way, since this run started. And obviously, 2 quick Chicago goals early in that game. Donato gets on the board again. But unfortunately, defensive issues, a little bit of goaltending issues come back to haunt Chicago in that game. They can't hold multiple leads. St. Louis comes back, and it ends up being a 6-5 shootout victory. And that shootout looked like it was never going to end, but finally St. Louis did put it away, and they get the 6-5 shootout win there in that one. Death taxes in Toronto losing in Vancouver. Doesn't seem to matter anymore. Leafs have a great team. Leafs have a bad team. They don't win in Vancouver. Doesn't matter what kind of team they have. Vancouver played a really tight defensive game. That's the way they want to win now. Vancouver's not you got to have a good reason to bet Vancouver games over the total right now, because Tocchet, especially without Quinn Hughes, they really are trying to dummy this thing up and play tight. Demko got hurt during the game. Lankinen took over. He played well. It was a combined win, I guess you could say, for Lankinen and Demko in that game, as Vancouver beats Toronto 2-1, as Toronto unable to complete the road trip sweep, but still a very good road trip for the Leafs overall, 3-1. Philadelphia, I figured this could happen. That's why I took the team total over 3, not the 3.5, because it is Philadelphia, but they did win. Not pretty, but they did beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-2. I'll tell you what, for a team with no Malkin, no Crosby, no Rust, they played really hard last night. Pittsburgh, they actually outshot the Philadelphia Flyers 33-20. But the Flyers get the win 3-2. Rangers beat the Jackets 4-3. It was a late Will Cooley goal to give them the win 4-3. So the only thing that doesn't hit for me here was the Jackets money line. But we had Jackets team total over, which was my best bet on the show yesterday. We had the over by Fecta. So still a pretty good game for me betting-wise. Who saw 9 goals coming between the Islanders and the Wild? My goodness. Minnesota been playing this defensive shell here for several games in a row, and now all of a sudden they get involved in a bit of a shootout here with the Islanders. But the Wild pull away with a 6-3 win over the New York Islanders last night. Certainly Sorokin wasn't great, maybe playing too much lately. Could be a product of that. But Minnesota gets a 6-3 win there against the New York Islanders in that one. And then some of the late games we saw last night. Actually, Nashville beats Buffalo 6-4. Still can't trust Buffalo. We did have the team total, though. So at least we cashed with the Sabres team total. We did have the over by Fecta. So that was good. But Nashville gets the job done 6-4 over the Buffalo Sabres last night. Seattle, this was a bad loss, man, for Calgary. Very bad. 2-0 lead against Seattle. Third period, can't hold it. Come back to tie at Seattle, and then they win it in overtime 3-2. That is a very tough, painful loss for the Calgary Flames in that one. Anaheim with a shootout win against the LA Kings, 2-1 in that game last night. Obviously, it was a very well goaltended game by Lukas Dostal. The Kings really peppered him in the third period, but he kept them off the board, got it to a shootout, and the Anaheim Ducks ended up getting the 2-1 victory over the LA Kings in a shootout. Nice for those of you, including me. I did end up taking a small flyer on the Ducks there, north of plus 200, especially when Jonathan let us know that David Riddick was going to be in net on a back-to-back, and that got me even more interested taking Anaheim. And then the Dallas San Jose. It's crazy that Dallas, if you remember, once upon a time, was actually down 2-0 in that game, and it ended up being 8-3 Dallas Stars. They just lit up the San Jose Sharks last night in that game. I think it was a free goal night or a free point night for everybody for the Dallas Stars. Duchesne is just on an unbelievable heater right now. Johnston is starting to get going. Maverick Bourque is really starting to crank it up. Mason Marchment gets a goal. Everyone chipped in for Dallas in a big 8-3 win there over the San Jose Sharks. And back to the ugly for Vitek Vanacek. And typical Vitek Vanacek. Plays pretty solid against Vancouver, gives San Jose a chance to win. They lose in overtime, and then he gets absolutely crushed last night. That's Vitek Vanacek in a nutshell right there. Alex, thoughts on Saturday?
Yeah, that shootout last night was the big highlight for me. It reminded me of, like I said, the old games in the IHL where, you had 3-round shootouts now, but back then it was 5 best of 5. You go on forever. So that was a lot of fun to watch. Unfortunately, didn't get that win, but great game. First period over, continues to run. Also, kind of just talk about how just overall, like I said, we saw these crazy finishes. And I said it earlier in the day. I said this is going to be a wild day. We talked about it in the show as well. We could see some outrageous final scores, and we certainly did. And like I said, that's why you like taking those team totals over with certain teams, like a San Jose. We cashed that easily, and then didn't have to worry about the game as Dallas runs away with it. So it's just nice to have some of the things that we practice and preach come to cash through for us.
No doubt. Hopefully we can practice and preach some winners here for the final 2 games in the NHL right before the break. We've got Utah and Washington. This one is about 15 minutes away from starting, 12:30 Eastern. Washington minus 190, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Connor Ingram and Logan Thompson confirmed starting goaltenders in this game, so certainly an edge to Washington in that regard. Ingram played a little bit better against Columbus in his last start, the win on the road in overtime, and a tremendous assist he made to Gunther on the game-winning goal. Heads-up play by Connor Ingram there, but still been kind of up and down lately. We'll see how he fares. Here's the only concern I have with betting against Utah. They're coming off just a drubbing yesterday in Carolina, 7-3. You think they're going to, for final game before the break, you would think the Utah Hockey Club's taking this game seriously, and they're going to come to play, but they're not better than Washington. Washington's got a significant rest advantage. Washington, keeps on finding ways to win, and I am not lining up to put my money against Logan Thompson in net right now for Washington. So this is a game I don't really have too much on because of the nature of yesterday where we did see a lot of goals. Maybe at 5.5, you could say there's a little value over 5.5. Maybe you could sprinkle a bit on that, but there's nothing I really love in this game, at least not side or total. Obviously player props. I like Gunther for Utah. You could go with Protas for Washington, McMichael for Washington. Ovi, of course, last goal. I am going to take a shot with that again. Plus 700, plus 750 is the price with that. Let's keep looking for this, especially in games like this where the Capitals are a heavy favorite. You expect them to be in a position where they're leading late in the game, and there's that opportunity, obviously, for Ovechkin maybe to pot the back of the net. So. Or find the back of the net with the empty netter. So, yeah, the last goal, I will get involved with that here for Ovi in this game. Alex, anything for you here? Utah, Washington.
What we're looking for in this game that's about to start in 4 minutes. I'm doing that because everybody's being a dick in the chat talking about how slow the recap was. So there's only a couple of things
they don't take the game off the board till they drop the puck, and they don't drop the puck till like 12:38, 12:40.
And they think that we have no idea when the fucking game starts. All right, so there's 3 things that I bet today. Ovi last goal, which is like I said, plus 8-1, plus 850. That's just almost an automatic bet. It's just a matter of a smaller or larger bet depending on the game. So it's a smaller bet today. I also have Ovechkin anytime goal tied with Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown in today's football game. And I have it with Dallas Goedert anytime touchdown. Plus 170 with the Barkley price, plus 650 with the Goedert price. So just everything Ovechkin.
Definitely in this game. Like I said, I'm trying to remember. They played Vancouver, I think, last year on the Super Bowl Sunday home game, the Capitals. I think they won as well, but definitely Washington playing well. It's back-to-back, too, for Utah. Now, they did get, like I said, pummeled in Carolina, so maybe they come out strong, but it is still back-to-back on the road here for the Utah Hockey Club in this game. All right, the second game of this Super Bowl Sunday, Tampa Bay and Montreal. We've got Tampa Bay minus 170 road favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. Jakub Dobeš is going to get the start for Montreal. Not a surprise because we saw Montembeault yesterday in the game against New Jersey. You knew Dobeš would probably get the second part of the back-to-back. We don't have a goalie confirmed for Tampa, but I get the suspicion it's got to be Johansson. I don't know if they'll, especially with Vasilevsky starting yesterday. It's just, although that being said, of course, there's no Russia in the Four Nations face-off, and Vasilevsky will not be a participant, obviously, in that tournament. So maybe Cooper will run right back with Vasilevsky. And I think the fact it hasn't been confirmed yet tells me the door is open for maybe Vasi to play back-to-back here right before the break for Tampa Bay. But it hasn't been confirmed yet. We should know momentarily. Not to mention Johansson you know what? Johansson lower body not available. So he's still out with that lower body injury he's been dealing with. So it's probably going to be Vasilevsky unless they want to put Brandon Halverson in. He'd be the guy that would go in, obviously, on this back-to-back. So Probably will be Vasi, quite honestly, on a back-to-back. Montreal in the system play, and the system play has cooled off a little bit, but they are in it after a 4-0 shutout loss to New Jersey yesterday. So I like over by Fecta here, over 1.5. Over, I actually got over 6 at -120 at Pinnacle rather than 6.5 at even money. So I just, a little bit more security in case it lands right on 6. So with that, full game over, first period over. What I really like in this game, and I went back and looked, Montreal's been shut out previously, I believe, 2 times this year. In the next game, they scored a goal in the first period. And you can get goal in the first period for the Montreal Canadiens here, -144 at FanDuel. So decent price. I've obviously seen better prices to take that bet, a team to score in the first period, but certainly Montreal has shown in the previous times they've been blanked, they've gotten on the board. The most recent time was they got shut out, then they played in Anaheim, and they scored 2 goals in the first period. So definitely liking Montreal to get on the board in the first period. -144 is the price for that at FanDuel, over by Fecta as well. That's what I'm looking at here when it comes to Lightning Habs. You maybe even might even be able to turn this into an over trifecta and take both teams to score in the first period. I could definitely see maybe both teams getting on the board. Tampa Bay lately has been very good scoring in the opening period. Their opening period goal production the last few games has certainly gone on an uptick. So keep that in mind. So we'll see if that continues this afternoon. What do you think here in this one, Alex? Tampa Bay, Montreal.
So this is one where pregame I bet Tampa Bay to score a goal in the first 10 minutes +145. We were all in our group chat talking about it. Jakub Dobiš has given up the first goal in 7 of his 8 starts. So that's something that we kind of want to identify. Obviously, you can lay 150 and just go, Tampa to score the first goal of the game. But I was getting a little more pinpoint with that +145. And of course, I'll be waiting for that first period overprice to go down. I'm seeing -134 at FanDuel. So anything at -110 or better, just a couple minutes into the contest. Those would be my 2 plays for this contest.
Nick Paul +320. I'm just going to give it away. That's also going to be my bargain bin special for this show. So we'll do the bargain bin special segment, but there you go. You already know what it is. Nick Paul +320 for the Tampa Bay Lightning. There you go. Jake Evans has scored 3 of the Canadiens last. That's good. I like that. I noticed that actually when I was looking at this game, because I always look back at the recent meetings between the teams. I'm like, holy shit, Jake Evans. He's scored multiple times against Tampa Bay. Why not at that price? +700 or so. Remember there was a time Jake Evans, what was it, a month or 2 ago? He was like scoring in multiple games in a row. +800, by the way, at FanDuel for Jake Evans to score a goal. So not bad. So yeah, both teams, I'm going to turn it into a trifecta in this game. Both teams to score in the first period as well here with Tampa Bay and Montreal. I think there's a chance here we get 1-1 because Tampa's been really doing a good job scoring in the opening period. Montreal, the last 2 times they were shut out this year, and the next game they scored in the opening period. So I think there's a good chance both teams get on the board. Again, we're waiting to see who's in net. We should know any minute right now, but whether it is Vasilevsky. There you go. Yeah, that's kind of what I expect. You got the break coming up. Throw him in there. And back-to-back, no big deal when you've got 2 weeks to rest after today, no doubt. So Andrei Vasilevsky is confirmed in net for Tampa Bay in this matinee affair. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, thank you to everyone. This is kind of like the All-Star break, pseudo All-Star break. Of course, it's a 4 Nations break. It's totally different. We're not doing that stupid All-Star game and skills stuff and all that crap. This is certainly going to be better than that, the 4 Nations face-off, even though it could have been even better if you had all the countries in it. But nevertheless, this is kind of like the pseudo halfway point break of the season. So we thank everyone for joining us the first half. We will be here for you, though, for the 4 Nations face-off, just with shows only before the games take place. We will do a show Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time, and we will preview the Wednesday tournament opener, Canada versus Sweden, and the Thursday night game, USA versus Finland. That will be on Wednesday's show. We'll also do an overview of the tournament on Wednesday's show as well, like a tournament preview. Any futures we like. I'm going to take a look at the prop market. Tournament leader in goals, tournament leader in points. We'll see if we can find some good value bets with those as well. We'll mention them on Wednesday's show. So we'll do a big overall tournament preview show Wednesday, as well as breaking down the first 2 tournament games taking place, one on Wednesday night, one on Thursday night. And then we will be back with you Saturday at noon Eastern for the next show, Ice Guys 4 Nations Face-Off show, and we'll preview the 2 Saturday games at noon Eastern next Saturday. And then we'll be back with you next Monday, which would be February the 17th. And that show, note the start time, will be noon Eastern. We're going to start at noon Eastern because there's a 1 p.m. Eastern game that Monday. So it'll be an earlier start time.
And it's a holiday.
Monday, February 17th. And it's a holiday. That's why. Yeah. That's why there's an afternoon game there for sure. And then, of course, after that, it's the championship game. They go right into the championship game. That is Thursday, February the 20th. So we will be on 2 p.m. Eastern that day to give you your 4 Nations Face-Off championship game preview show. So there you go. We've basically got 4 shows: Wednesday, Saturday this week, Monday, Thursday the following week for the 4 Nations Face-Off. And then, of course, we're back with the 7 days a week regular Ice Guys schedule starting Saturday, February 22nd, when the NHL action resumes. So there you have it. That's just the status of the show moving forward. We also do want to mention that we do have our next Ice Guys live betcast on Thursday, February 27th. Okay, that first week coming back from the 4 Nations break. And we'll be on, and this one will be open to everybody. This will be a free-for-all betcast for Thursday, February 27th, 7 p.m. Eastern. So mark that on your calendar and join us for that. And also, if you haven't joined us already, become a Patreon member. Certainly, you're going to have access to all our future Patreon exclusive live betcasts, and we're going to have a bunch more of them in March and beyond. Goalie charts, totals charts access to the daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page as well. And again, your $10 per month goes a long way to supporting the show. So make sure you sign up. Just $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys.
Also, with that Patreon, right now during the break, I'll have time to update my charts. I will have a couple of new charts that I'm adding. That I have time to kind of just make these numbers and some things that I've wanted to put up since the maybe 20 games before this now. So all those will be up during the break. So there will be activity on the site as well. And we're also going to be working on a chat feature so we can get our live wagers moving once we get back from the break and getting into play. You'll be able to get our live wagers through the chat feature in Patreon. So we're going to be working on all those things. Definitely want to sign up for that. And also want to check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got everything in stock right now. There are no coupons at the moment, but we will have a special coming up at some point during the month, I think closer to President's Day weekend. So take advantage of that once it comes around. But definitely check out the store right now, iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
No doubt, get your gear and your merch, and tons of it. Tons of great merch there at the Ice Guys store. All right, Bargain Bin Special of the night and Best Bets coming up. The final segment of Bargain Bin Special and Best Bets before the break coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page.
All right. Shout out to all our great Ice Guys sponsors. Solid Fire Sunday, since we're not with you tomorrow. Boston Hemp Inc. Check them out. 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code Ice Guys at bostonhempinc.com. All right. Before we get to Bargain Bin Special of the night and best bets, Super Bowl 59 is today. We have to mention what we like for the big game, Chiefs and Eagles. I'll be honest, when this matchup was confirmed after Championship Sunday with the Chiefs winning and the Eagles winning, I'm like, wake me up when the Super Bowl starts. I don't want to hear the hype. I don't want to hear the preview. I'm sick of the Chiefs. The Eagles fan base doesn't do anything for me. It's not like I got this beautiful feeling in my heart that the Philadelphia fan base might win something. No. So my first thought was, what a shit Super Bowl this is going to be. It would have been so much more from just a fan and, storybook standpoint, better with the Bills in it, the Lions in it, the Commanders, who were an upstart that could have almost got there. But nevertheless, now that it's here, these are two pretty good football teams, and I'm into it now. I've warmed up to this game. And it's easier to do that when you got a bunch of bets going in it. So that's kind of the way I see it. Look, until they get beaten, I can't go against Kansas City. I think there is some truth to the fact the Eagles might have the better roster this time around. I don't doubt that. But until Mahomes, Reed, and Spagnuolo in this spot get beaten, certainly at a pick 'em price range, I ain't taking I'm not betting against them. So I am on Kansas City money line here. I felt better about Kansas City last year in the game than this year, but I'm back on them. I cashed with them against San Francisco last year. I'm taking them again here at a money line price around -110. The total's interesting to me. I'm going to look for a live over. I do have a bet on no points in the first 6 minutes, which is at FanDuel. -128 I was able to get with that. My plan is to cash that, hopefully. Maybe get a 0-0, 3-0 type of game late in the first quarter or at the end of the first quarter, and then bet a live over. Because usually the tradition with the Super Bowl and the historical pattern is the game opens up as far as scoring as it goes on. And then for props, there's too many to name. Tight end props for both teams should be good. The Eagles have not defended the tight end spot good at all since Nakobe Dean went down to injury. Higbee feasted, Ertz feasted in the last two playoff games, the Rams and the Commanders. So Travis Kelce and maybe a sprinkle of Noah Gray, could have certainly a big impact today. And then, of course, Goddard's been a beast for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And Kansas City struggled defending tight ends all year. So tight end props are probably good on both sides. I'm going off the board too, and I think DeAndre Hopkins somehow makes an impact. You didn't get this guy midseason to do nothing and be such a small part of this offense. And with 2 weeks to prepare, you got to believe this could be a spot where Andy Reid gets DeAndre Hopkins involved. So I'm on DeAndre Hopkins over 1.5 receptions at plus money, over 10.5 receiving yards. He had 11 receiving yards against Buffalo on one catch. So it may only take him one catch to get over 10.5 receiving yards. And I think the plus 600 that I was able to get on him to score a touchdown, worth a look, because I think he'll get most of his looks in the red zone in this game. Worthy over 5.5 rushing yards. I prefer that than his receiving props because I could see them getting him in space with jet sweeps and end arounds, and I could see that being part of the game plan. So that's a prop I like. Rush attempts over 5.5 for Mahomes. He averages 6 in the Super Bowl, and I prefer that than rushing yards. What if he's kneeling down in a victory late in the game and it costs you, with the rushing yards prop? That's why I think over 5.5 rush attempts with Mahomes is safer. 35.5 pass attempts over I like with Mahomes as well. So those are a bunch. And here's one that this is a long shot flyer for me from a touchdown prop standpoint. This guy has almost broken it back to the house. And taken it to the house on kick returns in the first two Chief playoff games against Houston and Buffalo. Nico Remigio, I got 50-1 on him to score a touchdown, plus 5,000. This guy has been a dynamic kick returner. He has set up the Chiefs multiple times with great field position here in these playoffs with big punt return and kickoff return plays. So a little dabble that maybe finally tonight's the night that Remigio busts one for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a dynamic kick returner. He's been great in that role here in the playoffs. So why not at 50-1 take a shot with that? Alex, Super Bowl bets. What do you got?
Well, I gotta give you the old not so fast, my friend. As great of a run as it's been with the Kansas City Chiefs, whether you love them or hate them or you're indifferent. Like I said, the Eagles have a better roster this year, and I believe Vic Fangio and that defense will be the X factor.
You mean the
So
Vic Fangio defense that Mahomes has never lost to? Okay.
that he's never lost to because of the quarterbacks that Vic Fangio had in those previous 8 games. It's
That's
not Drew Lock. Jalen Hurts is a lot better than some of those other quarterbacks in those previous 8 games. And I think that's going to make the difference. It's going to be a complete team effort. I like the Eagles. I was happy to see this from a gambling standpoint because I had 31-1 on this matchup even taking place. So I kept it light with the props, but I am on Eagles money line. I got even money with that. I love first quarter under. I got under 9.5 minus $1.05. I know that's still within range. I think minus $1.15 where those are kind of sitting. You can also go first half under now if you see 24s popping up. That's something I'll probably be adding. Saquon Barkley and Cooper DeJean both have birthdays today. So I bet number of times birthday will be said over 2.5. That was minus 130 on Wednesday. That is now minus 350 at a lot of places offshore. So you can't really get that one. I bet no on will there be a touchdown in the first quarter. Bet no plus 215. I also have Dallas Goedert anytime touchdown plus 330. That's now down to 280. And I have Goddard touchdown tied to an Eagles win plus 475. And my long shot for Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Carter. I got 50-1 on Jalen Carter to win. Like I said, if he's going to be and impact that defense, I think. I also have Mahomes to throw an interception. I know he said you think he wouldn't throw an interception. I actually went on and bet that I got plus 110 that he does throw an interception in the
Yeah,
game.
this is going to be interesting because he's been on this great run of not throwing INTs. This defense can be ball hawk. Philadelphia. We'll see if they can force one out of him. Yeah, Goddard has been great in the playoffs for me for props. I'm not abandoning ship. And I've been on Worthy receiving yards and receptions. I lean that way, but I think the rush yards is even better because all he needs is like one of these jet sweep type deals, and he can get that. And I think they're going to try. And because of how aggressive the Eagles are up front defensively, use it against them and just put that ball in space to Worthy, I think is something they're going to look at here when it comes to this football game, no question. And then a couple more because just to before we get to a bargain bin special and best bets, I think there's one. Oh, yes. All week long, there was some talk about Devontae Smith, whether he was healthy or not. Apparently, he's been cleared, and he's going to be good to go. And now I'm interested in his, I think it's around 49.5, 50.5, his receiving yards. Like he torched Kansas City in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and it's a good matchup. This is the area of the field where they've had issues, Kansas City, the middle. And that's often where Devontae Smith gets the ball. So I'm not saying A.J. Brown props are bad bets to go over, but I just think there's better value, and the matchup works better for the likes of Dallas Goedert, for the likes of Devontae Smith. In this football game for Philadelphia. I prefer them over A.J. Brown is what I'm saying as far as props in this game. Goddard and Devontae Smith for them. So I would look in that. I'm staying away from Chiefs running back props because I have no clue what they're going to do. Kareem Hunt has certainly been the lead back in the playoffs. And if pattern continues, then you want to look toward Hunt before Pacheco. That being said, Andy Reid is one of these guys sometimes in the Super Bowl. He'll go back to, certainly, John Massey's onto it too. It's a great matchup for Devontae Smith. He should have a very big day. He should be one of the more focal points of the passing attack, no question. And then, of course, like I said, the chief running back props, I don't want to – it's a guessing game, at least in my opinion. Pacheco gets more of the reps or Hunt gets more of the reps. So definitely going to be interesting to see how that goes. Yeah, Jahan Dotson's been a kind of a invisible entity here in these playoffs, John. Do they work him involved? I think with Dotson, a little unsure about the volume he's going to get, but, the touchdown prop, is a way to maybe go about it because, maybe he's looked at, toward the red zone. You can get 16-1 on Dotson, to score a touchdown. Karlaftis sack is another one I like, Nick. The big Greek's been good for the Kansas City Chiefs, no question. And I think that's pretty much those are the main props that I like. See, giving you most of the props there, the ones that I like the most pretty much right there. Oh, I'm on it again. I don't love his rushing yards over Saquon Barkley. because it's such a high number, right? 110.5. But the receiving yards, I could see him being more of a pass catcher this time around. So over 12.5 receiving yards with Barkley. And I'm going to go back to the well with his longest rush. I was able to get it at over 23.5. I don't know if it's gone up since then. I think it maybe did. But look, the last 2 games, he's gone over 23.5 as his longest rush. He had a big one against Washington, a big one against the Rams. I know this will be a little more difficult against Kansas City, but Kansas City gave up a 33-yard run to James Cook of the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game. So if Barkley runs for 33 today on 1 carry, we cash a ticket. So no doubt looking toward him. Yeah, Josh Doan's starting to heat up. That's back-to-back games with a goal for him. We're going to have to keep that in mind coming out of the break there. Player prop, someone to keep in mind. See, this is a dangerous spot for Washington. They're rolling. There's a lot of their guys going into the Four Nations face-off, or at least a few of them. And here's Utah getting thumped yesterday by Carolina. So I'm not totally shocked, believe it or not. Utah scored the first goal in that game.
Yeah.
All right. Bargain bin special of the night here for this Sunday. It's actually bargain bin special of the afternoon. And it's got to be from Tampa Bay, Montreal, because it's the only game left on the board. Alex, what do you like in the bargain bin?
Give me Lane Hudson anytime goal plus 700 plus 750 of the prices I'm seeing floating around. So Lane Hudson get a goal here plus 750. I also tied it in with Saquon. Everything prop wise, I'm tying with Saquon Barkley and Dallas Goedert touchdown. So those all 3 of those things at once involving Lane Hudson.
That little voice inside my head, that little pit in my gut was working today on this game. It's 2-0 Utah. I said, stay away from Washington. I just felt it today with Utah getting thumped. Final game before the break. And yeah, this is a rare bad start for Washington, but they're never out of it. But 2-0 Utah already. My bargain bin special, you guys know what it is. I mentioned it earlier. Nick Paul, Tampa Bay Lightning plus 320. I find he plays very good in the division. Like, he scores a lot against Ottawa. He scores a lot against Toronto. He scores a lot against Montreal. We'll see if that continues here this afternoon. Nick Paul for Tampa Bay plus 320 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like here for best bet from this Tampa-Montreal game?
Goal in the first 10 minutes by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Get plus 145 at Bet Online on that. So Tampa to score in the first 10 minutes. That is my best bet for Super Bowl Sunday.
There you go. Tampa to score in the first 10 minutes for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. My best bet for this one, it's going to be either first period over, full game over, or it could be Montreal to score in the first. I'll go with the first period over. Let's do that. First period over, Lightning and Habs. I like the full game over too, but it's 6.5. I'm pretty confident we'll get 2 goals in the opening period. Over 1.5 minus 128. Tampa Bay, Montreal, first period over for my best bet for this Sunday NHL slate. There you have it, guys. We are out of here, at least NHL-wise, until Saturday, February 22nd. But a reminder, we are going to be back with you Wednesday for our first Four Nations Face-Off edition of the Ice Guys show, previewing the tournament, previewing the first 2 games of the tournament, Wednesday and Thursday, Canada, Sweden, U.S., Finland. So Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. That's when you will see us again right here on the Ice Guys show. Our first of 4 Four Nations face-off preview shows right here on the Ice Guys over the next 2 weeks. We hope you enjoy the NHL break, and we hope you enjoy the Four Nations face-off, and we'll have you covered for that tournament. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Super Bowl Sunday. Enjoy the big game. Bet responsibly now. Very important to point that out. I know it's the Super Bowl. We all get excited. We all want to make our bets, but let's keep it in reason. Just treat it like another game. I do. Alex does. Make sure you do that, okay? Yep, stay in control. But enjoy the game. Good luck with all of your wagers. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we will see you on Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for our first Four Nations Face-Off edition of the Ice Guys.